Hello and welcome. Let's talk about some important grammar points for TOEFL. And today we are going to talk about non-count nouns. Now, first, what is a non-count noun? A non-count noun is a noun, person, place, or thing, that you cannot count. It's a noun that you cannot count. So let's take, for example, the air around me. Air is non-countable. It would be really hard for me to pull out and say, oh, this is air number 1, air number 2, air number 3. Oh, there are 3 airs. It's impossible. It's just impossible for me to count air. Okay. So that's a non-count noun. And there are many of them in English. And we just have to memorize them. We have to know what they are. It's important to know the non-count noun because that will determine the verb that you use. I will say the air is clean because air is it acts like a singular noun. Okay, I can't say the air are clean. So it becomes very important for subject-verb agreement, okay? Now, the tricky thing about non-count nouns is that sometimes there are nouns that fall under both the non-count category and the count category. So let's take, for example, my hair. My hair is soft. My hair is curly. My hair is non-countable in that situation, right? Would you want to count the hairs on my head? I wouldn't. We'd be here all the rest of our lives. Okay, so hair is a non-count noun in that situation. But let's take another situation. Let's say you're at a restaurant and you are eating your delicious soup and all of a sudden, oh no, you see a hair in your soup. A hair. A is 1, countable. And because it's 1, it's easy to count, right? So in that situation, it's countable. So I'm going to say, excuse me, waiter, there is a hair in my soup. Take it back. I don't want any hairs in my soup. In that situation, we can count it. Okay? So just be aware, there are certain nouns that are only non-count nouns. There are certain nouns that are only count nouns. For example, a pen. 3 pens, 10 pens, 5 pens. I can count pens. They will always be a countable noun. But some words like hair could fall under the non-count category or the countable category, depending on the situation. English is fun. All right, now, how is this relevant to TOEFL? I'm going to show you. I want to show you a recent sentence that I got from a student and the non-count noun error that came up. So let's take a look. I'm going to share my screen with you now, and we're going to look at this sentence. Both the reading and the lecture discuss the evidences that this dinosaur had feathers. Okay, the problem is this word right here, evidences. Evidences is a non-count noun, so it will never ever have an S at the end. That is the error, okay? So with non-count nouns, you will never have an S. You will never have an A in front of it. I would not be able to say an evidence. And you will never have a number in front of it, like 2 or 3 or 4 or 10. And in fact, sometimes it's helpful if you're trying to figure out, is this a countable noun? Could I say 3 airs? And if that sounds weird to you, then that means probably it's a non-count noun, right? So what I did with this student is I made sure all those S's were taken out of that writing that essay, and that it just looked like this. Discuss the evidence. Let's look at some more non-count nouns. Proof is a synonym of evidence. And so proof is also a non-count noun. If you were in the courtroom, you might have a lawyer that says, you know, I have proof that the criminal committed the crime. Boom. You're not going to say a proof or proofs, okay? It's a non-count noun in this situation. And we can in fact substitute evidence. I have evidence that the criminal committed the crime. Now you might say, hey, Kirsten, I've studied a lot of math and I know that I can say there are mathematical proofs. And yes, I will say that's a special situation if you are talking about mathematics and you are talking about formulas that prove something to be true. You can use an S at the end of proof. However, 97% of the time, you are using proof in a non-count noun way, just like we did here. Okay. Let's take a look at another non-count noun, which is research. I see this mistake happen a lot on TOEFL. I made many researches. Oops. Now, first of all, research is non-count. We can never have an S at the end of it, so we're going to get rid of that. Now, this will change this word right here. And a lot of times when I ask students, okay, well, now we have a non-count noun, what can we change many to? They will say, oh, we're going to change it to much. However, English does not like the use of much when it's a positive or an affirmative statement. That means it doesn't have a not in it, right? It's not saying I did not do research, right? That would be a negative statement. This is an affirmative statement. We don't have any nots in that, in this statement. So in this case, when we don't have a not in it or a don't, right? We're gonna get rid of that. And here's the magic. Use a lot of. A lot of works for affirmative statements or negative statements. It works for non-count nouns and it works for count nouns. Oh, it works for it all. So whenever you're in doubt, use a lot of because that works for everything. Now, there's one more mistake here. I'm not going to really get into this too much because this is all about non-count nouns, but I want to bring it to your attention. And it's this word made. Made research is not the correct collocation. I'm going to write that word down. Collocation. Collocation means words that go together, okay? We don't say made research. We can say you make a cake, you make a list, you make friends. Make is more like create something or build, right? Like making a cake, you're creating this cake. So with research, it would be very weird to say we make research because that would mean we created it. Now, hopefully we're not creating research. Research is something that is a scientific deduction based on evidence, right? So we're not just making something, we're not making it up, for example, in our imagination, but what we're doing is we're doing research. That is the correct collocation, to do research, okay? So one final change here, I'm gonna go up here and then I'm gonna say, and let's say it's in the past tense, maybe last year, I did a lot of research. And that would be the correct sentence, okay? We're gonna go ahead and move on to our next non-count noun, which is advice. Oh, I hear so many students say, in fact, just the other day on the YouTube channel, I had a student who said, Thank you for these advices. And I went, ah! Well, let me give you some more advice. Don't put an S on advice because it's non-count. So we're going to get rid of this S. Get rid of it. And we're going to get rid of these. Of course, this will change, right? A lot of things change when you when you become aware of a non-count noun. So thank you for this advice. Now, if you really wanted to, you could count advice, but you have to count it in another way. Thank you for these bits of advice. Thank you for these pieces of advice. Okay, so now you can put an S on bits or pieces. That is grammatically correct right there. And advice, of course, stays without the S. No S on advice. Another one that comes up a lot is information. So he gave me some information would be the correct sentence. You will never have an S on information. And in fact, research, advice, and information, they were so commonly just misused with the S or, had an N or an A in front of it that I had to make up a song. Research, advice, information. You just can't count. If you want to hear that song, it's on my YouTube channel or on my website. But yeah, that's how many times I saw students making this mistake with these non-count nouns. I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sick of hearing this. I'm going to make up a song about it. So I'm going to sing it every time. Okay. Another non-count noun, knowledge. He has a lot of knowledge. No S at the end of knowledge. It's a non-count noun. Okay. Now, the other thing to note here is that you want to notice. Okay, I'm going to scroll up and give you an example. Notice that non-count nouns can be considered names of categories. So for example, this word vocabulary. I hear a lot of students say, I have many vocabularies to study. Vocabulary is a non-count noun. You cannot count vocabulary. Now you can count words, right? 3 words, 4 words, 5 words. And there are many words in the dictionary, right? Many words in the dictionary. There are difficult words, there are easy words, there are silly words. So notice that vocabulary is a kind of category for all of these different types of words. Okay, it's like the name of this category in general. It stands for all of these different kinds of words. Let's take another look at what could be considered a category. Traffic. Okay, it's a non-count noun. You would say there is a lot of traffic. If you wanted to say the negative form, you could say there isn't much traffic today. Or you could even put your negative in there as a lot of, so there isn't a lot of traffic today. Now let's think about this word traffic for just a moment. If you think about, well, what is traffic? It's made up of cars, trucks, vans, vehicles, buses. You might even say bicycles, right? There are bicycles on the road too. They're part of the traffic. So traffic is this general category or overarching term that stands for a lot of like these individual different kinds of ways that we get around. Okay, so keep that in mind as we move on to the next word. equipment. Another category, right? You could have gym equipment, you could have fitness equipment, or you could have equipment that is for, let's say, fixing your kitchen appliances, for example, right? There are all different types of equipment. I guess I have fitness working out on my mind because that's the equipment that comes to my mind right away. But there are all different kinds or types of equipment. So let's put this in a sentence. I have to buy some fitness equipment. Now, if you think about fitness equipment, there are different kinds, right? I could say, well, weights or trampolines or yoga mats or maybe those stretchy bands that I can use to stretch with. Those would all fall under the category of fitness equipment. Okay. Equipment, non-count noun, will not have an S. Furniture, same thing going on here. If you think about furniture, it's the general category of things in your house like desks and tables and chairs and couches and sofas and beds and bureaus, all of which are countable. But furniture, the whole overarching category for that is a non-count noun. So maybe she has a lot of furniture in the house. So maybe she's going to have a yard sale and sell off her furniture. Okay. Next term is money. And I'll end here with money. And once again, if we think about this as a name of a category, right? You would have, in the United States, we have dollars. So it would be, we have $1 bills, we have $5 bills. Notice bills has an S on it. I can count the number of bills I have, but I can't say, oh, I have 5 monies. I can say I have 5 $5 bills, and that makes sense, but I cannot count money. All right, but I have a lot of different types of bills. There might be $10 bills and $50 bills and $100 bills. And there are coins, there are pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters, but I cannot put an S on money. It's the name of the category in general. So a sentence here, she has a lot of money. What is she gonna do with that all? Okay. So I hope you found this helpful. Just remember those non-count nouns like research, advice, information, knowledge, equipment, furniture, and evidence, money. Please keep those words in mind so that if you use them on TOEFL, you're remembering, oh, here's my non-count noun, no S, no A, no number. And it also will act like a singular noun. So the equipment is new. The furniture is expensive. Her advice is amazing. Okay, it'll always act like a singular count noun, and that determines your verb. All right, hope that helps. Happy studies.